as a Black woman in America, my experiences with white people have not always been favorable, and particularly white women.
I find that I have great relationships with individual Black women, but it's harder to figure out how to navigate a group of Black women.
I personally don't think that just because a white person helps a Black person, it makes them a savior. I think it's all about their intentions. I think it's all about the outcome.
I've never really had to think about my racial identity. And it occurred to me that that's the essence of white privilege.
I refuse to be invisible in white spaces. So no, you can't take my turn. You can't go in front of me. And no, I'm not angry. I don't have an attitude. We're not playing these games, not anymore.
When I hear Black women say, "I'm tired of telling my story," that says to me, stop asking, start thinking critically for myself.
The thing that worries me is why it is considered to be confrontation, having honest discussion with one another as confrontation.
I would love white women to get as mad as I get sometimes and say that.
Time for me to really get down to the core of the messiness that
I appreciate the acknowledgement that, being a white woman ain't so bad, right? That you acknowledge that in a time when
my hope is that we find a way to find each other.
And then the others are there's no wrong answers, no scientific, it's just your definition. And then
right now, the women are gathering for our inaugural Bridging and Bonding Women's Social Stress Retreat, which is aimed to gender solidarity to achieve racial equity.
21 Black women and 21 white women that will be working as trust partners throughout the weekend.
Yeah, and in trust groups, which are the other 6 women that they're going to do a deeper dive exercise so that they can actually learn, have a small community experience within the larger community. And then we're also going to achieve racial equity just in these 3 days. That's what we're going to do.
We're just that good.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do not believe that it's hard for Black women to be friends with white women. Sometimes what I do believe, though, is there's this stereotype from the energy that exudes in the room. And what I find is a lot of times when they sit down, have dialogue and conversation, they have so much in common.
I do think it's hard for white women to be friends with Black women. I think it's hard for white women to be friends with white women because white women claw each other and fight with each other to climb the ladder instead of lending a hand. So if they can't support their white women friends, how are they going to help support our Black women friends?
Tell me about the idea you had about the greeting.
Yeah, so I've used this before, and I think it's it might fit in here as kind of a powerful way of adding to that, is the word salbona, which in its actual translation, it's a greeting, a South African greeting, and many people talk about it as being, when I say it to you, what I'm saying is I see you, and by seeing you, I bring you into existence with me in our shared mutual space here together.
I agree. It's a powerful way of starting for a workshop or something, maybe not this one.
Yeah, I might just keep pushing a wee bit because...
I'm a little concerned because, I know it's, well, go ahead. I'm looking at the black-white dynamics of this too.
Okay, all right.
I'm always looking at that and how it's going to land, particularly on Black women.
What is your concern about how it might land for Black women?
With a white woman talking about a greeting from South Africa that she thinks is very profound and loves. And I know some of our black women presidents will be rolling their eyes and go, oh, girl.
Maybe because the first time that I heard it was from a white woman who lives in South Africa. And
You know wait a minute, South Africa, okay.
This has been a year-long planning, preparing, going deep on all of these issues to prepare for the retreat, and then looking forward towards where we're going to be building the documentary. There are a lot of difficult conversations, hard issues to unpack. And I can say with certainty, if I didn't trust Debbie on the interpersonal level, I would not have felt safe enough to go to the places that we had to go to build the content and build the awareness in crafting this project.
Yeah. What I admire about Lori, particularly as a white woman, her ability to learn, take it in, quickly bounce back, change, get it. She's never defensive. It's challenging. It's just, the rewards are fabulous though, but it is challenging.
Trust is something that evolves. Trust is something that is earned. Trust is something that has a nuance to it. And we trust until there isn't reason to trust. That is sort of how we come to relationships. And yet for many women, it is hard to sort of crack open that shell in which trust is present from the very beginning. And so there's a constant weeding through relationships. Who are you? Can I trust you? Do you see me? Do you know me? Do you hear me? Do you feel me? Will you support me? Will you challenge me? Will you encourage me? Will you love me? Will you be a friend, a real friend? Will I be able to share with you the nuances? It's loaded. It is loaded.
Earlier, we asked you to give us a definition of social trust and to give us a few examples. So Lori's going to read some of those examples.
Social trust is the concept of feeling supported and free to be your true self in the presence of others. Social trust is the beginning to see positive traits, skills in people that we don't know very well. Being supportive to others. Social trust, attempt to understand, learn different perspectives, listening and empathy. Social trust between black and white women is a relationship in which we hold each other accountable, give each other grace, and expect that we have each other's best interest at heart.
Building relationships of trust between black women and white women is very, very important. In corporate America, it's only 40% of women representation in the management ranks. So just imagine if we could all work together and build on that trust, how powerful that could be instead of us working apart from each other.
I find that other white women are the most problematic in a district that is 98% Latina, and it's a majority white teachers. And I feel like I have a duty to be anti-racist, and that affects my relationships with a lot of white women.
Being around engineers, predominantly white males in the federal government, my biggest challenge were the black women that were in my field. Man, they gave me the hardest time. I couldn't be friends with them, and I don't know what the separation was, maybe because I was around mostly technical people and they weren't technical, and these women were very well educated too.
I think when you're going to, in a workplace where it's just one or two or three people of color, and then it's, and you're above them, they could be A, feel intimidated, or B, just like, oh, who does she think she is? And then she doesn't speak to us in the lunchroom, cafeteria, but she can hang out with them.
I'm going to have to take some time to think about what I admire about white women. I don't know that I look at white women differently than black women as far as admiration. I think I admire certain qualities in women, whether they're black, white, Asian, or whatever the race may be, all women. So I don't think I look up to white women and say, you know, I admire them for a certain thing, because I think, you know, there's just this mutual respect there.
One of the things I admire about black women, and I don't think that I've seen this, I mean, I've seen this in a lot of women, but a lot of times black women aren't afraid to speak their mind as much as white women are. And I find, especially as being part of the LGBTQ community, it's quite the mouthful, I find it hard to speak my mind a lot because I find it difficult I always feel like I'm gonna get looked down upon or I'm gonna get judged, especially like the way I look. And I find that a lot of black women in my life, or a lot of black women that I know, or just black women in media, they're not afraid to speak their mind and be strong and be who they are. And I find a lot of strength in that.
I have to hug her. I'm
Aw.
sorry.
Anyway.
The one thing out of many that I admire about black women is that they always show up for each other and they support one another. They're like the pillar of the family, and you see that a lot.
The one thing I admire about white women is their hair. I have had a lot of struggle with getting prepared, being on time to places because of my hair, and it causes me to be insecure. Even when I was younger, you know, I used to wear a t-shirt on my head and pretend like I was white and to just have fun with it and then take it off and it was like, oh, reality.
If I have my hair natural, you know, or if I wear it in an afro, that means that I am rebellious or that I'm going to push the status quo.
It takes 3 hours for me to get my hair like this. I would say you need to make it a business expense that you're gonna pay me to straighten my hair, and you're gonna allow me time off so that I can get it done so that it can be straight in the mirror.
Yes. There is one thing I don't like sometimes about wearing my hair curly.
What?
Everybody wants to touch it.
She's looking at her friend going, Lauren, it's so soft.
If a black woman were to say, don't do that, it feels quite condescending or patronizing, rather than the behavior itself being the white woman crossing the boundary.
That work with my team, and the lady came and said, can I touch your hair? And she said it and touched it at the same time. But see, yeah, everybody just did that. So that's so interesting. So what happened, I don't know if she saw it in my face because we automatically like, what? And everybody turned around like E.F. Hutton was in the room. And so she just looked and she said, I lost all my hair. Today was my last day of doing chemo. I come to get the cannabis and I'm a beautician. And I just wanted to touch your hair. And so my first thing was the whole race thing. Like, what are you doing, girl? But I changed my passion, I changed my look, and I think I'm growing up because I didn't immediately go off. And I'm glad I didn't because it was a touchy situation. So the assumptions go on both ends on why this might happen.
Yes. Yes. Wow. That's a good one.
In my opinion, I don't think that it's hard for Black women to be friends with white women. I have, in my experience, never judged anyone for the color of their skin. So I don't find it that hard.
I am turning 60 years old, and I think I have really evolved on that question. In this day and age, no. However, it's been a lifelong process for me not to just feel the differences.
Your friend Karen brings her potato salad to your cookout. Uh-oh, T'Challa.
This woman, Karen, she is Caucasian, eh?
Yes.
And she has her own recipe for potato salad, eh?
Yeah.
Ah, I understand.
The Karen meme, it's given women of color and Black women in particular an opportunity to really be able to discuss the way in which not just whiteness, but white women in particular can affect or make their experience a bad one.
I sense that this white woman does not season her food.
That's right.
And if she does, it is only with a tiny bit of salt.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
And no paprika.
No paprika, no.
And she will probably add something unnecessary like raisins.
I know, right?
So something tells me that I should say...
Say it!
Oh, hell no, Karen. Keep your brand-ass potato salad to yourself.
My name is Karen. I cringe when I introduce myself. People apologize to me for that I have this name, and it's a very different feeling than it used to be when I understood that my parents gave me this name to assimilate to American culture, and also I was named after a great uncle. He was actually lost in the Holocaust.
So my name is Karen, and in this current time, it makes me feel ashamed. I love my name. I used to love my name so much because I loved what it meant. It means pure at heart. And so when this began to happen, I'm going to call it demonization of the name, it really made me start feeling ashamed. It's my name, you know? And so I would get really upset. I would want everyone to use the name of the person who was behind the behavior that they did not like. Whenever I see that on social media, I always say her name. And then I print the person's name. So I do it every time, but if all of us do it, right, that might eventually take over.
There is a lot of racism, but also sexism, causing white women and Black women to be on opposite sides of the argument when we really should be joined together.
I feel as if the one thing that media can do to strengthen gender solidarity and achieve racial equity is continue to tell different and diverse stories. If we start showing this in our stories, in the storytelling of what is really going on, I think that will open up it'll be a welcoming mat.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Stephanie Jones-Rogers.
Narrative sources, legal and financial documents, and military and government correspondence make it clear that white Southern women not only witnessed the most brutal features of slavery, they took part in them, profited from them, and defended them. We might think that white women were invisible in Southern slave markets. We might think that white women and their children were merely passive observers of all this. And more profoundly, that they were powerless to stop these horrors and traumatic separations. But this is not how enslaved and formerly enslaved people remembered things at all. White Southern women's economic relationships to slavery began in childhood.
I wish I could say I believe that we're fully ready for the message of racial and gender equity. I think one of the challenges, though, particularly in our American society, is that we're not very good at nuance. We really like perfect heroes and perfectly evil villains. And so then when our heroes have flaws, it makes us really uncomfortable. And as Brian Stevenson is famous for saying, it's really important that we learn to hold opposing truths in our heads at the same time and then learn where to go from there. So yes, Jefferson was a brilliant political thinker and was a slave owner. Elizabeth Cady Stanton was a powerhouse for women's rights, and she made incredibly racist decisions. So those are all true. And it's not until we are aware of that and willing to talk it through and the complexity that faces all of us in the face of our current society that we can move forward. And so I hope we can listen to each other and learn from each other enough to do that, but we have ways to go.
I mean, I've been covering race and racism all of my career as a journalist. And one of my biggest pieces of work I did before I became a columnist was The Burden of Innocence, which was a series about a Black man named Michael Green who had gone to prison for a rape he didn't commit. And he was there for 13 years. And he was there because he was Black and he was poor. My father could not understand why I would spend so much time on that series. I say this often, it's easy to hate the racist you don't know. It's much harder when it's coming from a person who is the reason you got to go to college, is your father, and you want him to think differently. You want him to be better on this.
You know, when we think about what it takes to be in mixed settings, for many people, there is a feeling of not being psychologically safe in mixed spaces. And that psychological safety really can require us to sort of ground ourselves, look for, I am the only or one of the few, and I am looking around, really wanting to visually ground myself. I can almost be somewhat nervous in spaces that are all white, even when I have a level of authority in those spaces, and have to remind myself of old tapes in my brain and in my body in which I was not safe.
We became friends because Christy took the initiative to say something to me. And I think in the situation that we were in, my children, one of my children was with me, my sons are African American. I would never have walked up to a Black woman and said, oh, I'd really like to meet you because now we're both going to be in the same place and I'd really like you to know my children. But I felt like it was okay because Christy came to me first to say, who's the mother of that boy? And that began our friendship.
We have had some really honest conversations about race and the dynamic of white women and Black women, the power dynamic of that. I have dear friends who are white, and I go to many places that they ask and invite me to. I don't always invite them to the places that are near and dear to me, simply because it's a lot of work at times, right? It's a lot of work.
One exercise that we do is called the Racial Group Identity Exercise. Black women come together as a group and white women come together as a group, and we ask them to think about themselves as Black women and as white women, and then to think about how they will creatively, or however they want to do it, introduce themselves to each other in their group identity.
Something very powerful happens when people collectively are introducing themselves in these racial identity groups.
I think for many white women, they come in with courage, because it takes courage, but also with apprehension. They're nervous. And for Black women, they're pretty, why am I doing this? Is this going to be more work? And it shows how different we are in our spaces when we enter the topic of race.
Oh, them the boomers.
All right, boomers.
Okay, boomers.
Bring it, boomers.
We know our family heritage and the ability to trace it. Other activists and influence. Opportunity to make change, advocate, and be subversive. There you go.
Will you flip it for us?
Why, certainly. Yes. Sure. What we don't want to ever hear again about white women. White is the norm, the superior race, the dominant race. We get tired of that. Personal favorite here is blonde jokes, okay? Hair comments, but we work hard at it. There you go.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for doing that. We only do this work to make ourselves look good, and that it's performative, that it's virtue signaling, that we're doing it transactionally and or to get something in return and not out of a relational motivation. Who hasn't spoken? Karen has one.
Yeah, I just said we don't want to hear about Karens anymore.
Yes, we have the power to make change with no follow-up. With no follow-up. So when people say, we have the power to make change, we're white women, and then don't do anything. We don't want to that. All right, bring it up over here.
So we don't want to hear that we are clueless and selfish. There are things that we definitely don't know, but a lot of us are doing our work separately to educate ourselves, and we're trying to show up. So, yeah.
And then the last one we kind of looked at from a lens of being a woman, but then also being a white woman. We don't want to hear anymore that we are bossy or controlling because we're taking up space in a leadership role or something like that. We don't want to hear that we're emotional or bitchy just because we're expressing ourselves, or that we're incapable or closed-minded. Like Kate said, we're doing the work, we're trying to show up. We don't want to be written off.
We don't care. Everyone can care. And we don't care.
All right.
Take your time.
We are Black girl magic. Strong, rich, creative.
We are not invisible. We are camaraderie. We are a collective. We are sisterhood.
We are not quotas or percentages, but talented leaders and visionaries with 100% to give.
We are richness in color with beautiful skin. From 1 to 100, our skin don't crack.
We are not promiscuous or fast. We are attractive and beautiful.
We embody strength, dignity, and grace.
We are not weak. We are not lazy. We are qualified and we are talented.
We are Black excellence and we are Black pride.
We are accomplished. We are not tokens.
Hell yeah.
We are style. We are swagger. We are grace.
We are not a monolith. We are talented and experienced, and we have much to offer all.
We are fun, funny, and we create joy. Sometimes laughing is the only thing we have.
We are not just pretty for a Black girl. We are the standard of beauty from our lips to our ass.
be surprised at our success.
We have a sense of village, recognition, and strong, rich traditions. We can do it with a simple Edna.
Oh, yeah.
We are so creative, and we are fantasticness.
Miss.
We are enduring, strategic, and innovative.
We are joy. If you've ever been black on Saturday night, you'll never want to be white again.
Everybody, we're gonna give everybody just a couple of seconds just to breathe and take this all in.
Yeah.
I think that we want to all be seen, heard, and valued. I heard it in several statements on both ends, and the minimizing that occurs to women in general. And so I heard that we don't want that.
I heard that we all need to make strides with white men.
Just an observation about process is, and this relates to something that was said at my trust table about where Black women go for self-care. You coalesced and presented a whole lot better than we did. And perhaps, and that's an advantage you have that I think is beautiful. And I also think you have a whole lot more swagger, and I love.
One of the things that I heard is you are allowed to say we are Black excellence. If we came out and said we are white excellence, the whole room would have gone quiet.
Okay, it's interesting you would say that, because I think what I heard some others say is it's presumed. When you're in the room, your excellence is presumed. So when you hear us say that, we're making a statement because it's not presumed. And sadly, as I heard all of my sisters speak, there was a lot of affirmation saying, we are this, we are this. It's not, we know we are, but we're not, we're pretty sure a lot of, not you all, but when we operate in different spaces, that's not always clear, right? But what I did appreciate on this side of it, we do have shared experiences. We all come from very different backgrounds. You know, some people were raised rich and poor, but it doesn't matter because we have a shared life experience, you know, good and bad, right? But sitting here, I pretty much felt that I knew every Black woman. We'd been through something, even if not together, we'd been through something. And I think that's what you're hearing and seeing. And that's why it was easier for us to coalesce. It is that sisterhood. We don't use that lightly.
I think when you said the heritage, and so when you said white excellence, Black excellence, so we're not Irish, we're not Scottish, we're not Russian. We don't wear, I'm proud to be Irish, I'm proud to be it, because so collectively, we are that culture, that ethnicity, we are Black excellence. So we can't wear that same shirt because we can't trace our heritage back, you know. So Melody has something to say.
Yeah, I think, you know, we're much more practiced as presenting and thinking of ourselves as individuals and not a collective. And you know, for me, this was an extraordinarily frustrating process because there was not, from my perspective, enough time for us as white women to really get down to the core of the messiness that doesn't allow us to either think, you know, collectively or what we need to do individually. So, you know, I mean, that's, I think, part of the reason why we were kind of all, I love you all.
Crazy.
Yeah.
You know, we were very excited. You could tell. The Black
Yes.
women, when we got together, we were were excited to be together. We couldn't even contain ourselves.
Child, if we
It
had
was
10
so
more
much
minutes, you had a
fun.
skit and a song. If you had 10 more minutes.
10 more.
10 more. You would have had a full presentation. We would have had song, dance, everything.
We would have been But no, the one thing that I noticed too is at our table when we were sitting in our trust groups, the difficulty that white women have to talk about being white. And we were like, you know, we got this by being black, and you know, it was like, and you even heard that it was difficult to frame that. But we were very excited to be together.
Everything that we were talking about, especially in response to what we don't ever want to hear about white women, was all very much related to being in a racial justice environment. I mean, a lot of the motivations, a lot of the pieces. And I asked her, I was like, well, what do we just not want to hear about being white women in general, right? As opposed to being in this particular space. And I wonder, as Melody was talking, and I think coming back to what folks are saying, is that because we don't have another shared experience that we're coming back to? And so then we're creating, okay, this is the place.
And I just wonder if that is reflective of kind of anger from some parts of white society as a whole. You know, like things were good, and now that we have to have this racial equity talk, I mean, that was kind of the only problems you all could think of, which just kind of struck me.
So let me speak for myself. Just speaking for myself, it is the constant feeling if I'm complaining about what I got, it's like, you bitch, seriously? Excuse me. You know, it's like, do you appreciate what you have?
What we're witnessing here, at least for me, this is the legacy of slavery.
Yeah.
That's the sharedness that we have over the centuries. We have built on, and so that we nod to each other. We don't know each other, but we know each other.
Right. And we've always had to look out for each other. We had to start our own organizations and fraternities and sororities. We had to do that because the Institute, they were not serving us. So the whole kind of collective process is just how we've grown up and taken care of each other and what we've learned because we had to figure it out.
We made a comment about white husbands, and I think about this a lot about the patriarchy, that I think what I just heard you say, Janice, is that Black women, and Edith as well, have had to survive by being together and creating solidarity, and white women have had to survive by hitching their wagons to their white husbands, which creates competition. And it's constant.
We could be individual or have been individual. That's so pronounced around even the racial identity part, because you have to think about what's good about being a white woman versus being a woman. And it's the white part. I don't stand up, I get up in the morning and my feet hit and I might feel a few aches because I'm a boomer. But, you know, I'm not looking and going, okay, here, now I do a white woman in the mirror. That's not the first thing that was always greeting me. And I didn't have to do that. So it's a conscientious, it's a true awareness and the work around it. And so it's, for us to be individuals, it takes longer to connect in that way. And it's so pronounced, and it's so pronounced right now.
The white woman gets up in the morning and says, what am I going to do today? The Black woman gets up in the morning and says, what do I have to do today? How am I going to get it done? How am I going to be perceived? What are they going to say? How do I make sure I stand out and I'm not perceived to be less than? So we're going through a whole different kind of pulling it all together before we even walk out the door, when we're looking in the mirror.
My journey isn't just my journey. When I send my son to school and we live in a good neighborhood, that doesn't matter. Because I know that my little robotic loving son looks like a villain to someone. And I have to have that talk with him. So my journey of elevating, you know, my career, my journey of elevating academically, my journey of getting into a great neighborhood, it's not all just the win. Because then I know that sometimes he won't see faces that look like his if I go to a certain neighborhood. If we go to another, I know that academically they're not going to serve him. So all of those pieces play into the role, and we carry that knowing that it's not just what's happening from 9 to 5, it's also what's happening in those school doors, what's happening, you know, with our loved ones, what's happening with my father, what's happening with the men in the lives we, you know. So when someone mentioned that you kind of attach yourself to your husband for growth, and I mean that, I don't want to say it in the wrong way, but it's almost like being attached to Black men. It's almost like a burden, even though I love my Black men, so I don't want this to be misconstrued on the camera the wrong way, but it certainly doesn't come with the elevation that it does being connected to a white man.
It's not equitable to everybody, but we do have a lot of opportunities and privileges that are not shared by everybody, you know, as a white woman. And so we kind of sort of started to like take that down and say, okay, maybe that's not good and wonderful to have all those privileges.
I appreciate the acknowledgement that, you know, being a white woman ain't so bad, right? That you acknowledge that in a time when I'm hearing, I earned everything myself. There is no white privilege. And that is said so much in other spaces. So at least you all seem to grapple with that and understand that, well, there is white privilege and I benefited from that. Where we're hearing on the outside, there is no white privilege, there's no systemic racism.
We especially with resources, power, influence, wealth that we built as the boomers, you know, it's a velvet trap. It's our bubble, and it's takes work and discomfort to get out of the bubble, get out of the trap, and because after you become awakened, we ain't woke yet, but awakened some, it's impossible to stay. So these alliances feel really good. So
what I hear coming from this side of the room, and what I hear coming from our side of the room is that we want to share our culture, our strength, our way of getting it done, and not have to worry about being beat down because of the way we do or so on.
Wow. And I just wanted to quickly say that sometimes to my white friends, I change the word privilege to luxury, because it isn't necessarily, though they kind of have the same feeling. Sometimes people, my friends who are really just straight middle class or, you know, came up in the working class, this idea of privilege seems so aristocratic, right? But if you think of it more as a luxury, that's it, that you just have that luxury to walk into a room and you're given the benefit of the doubt, and I don't have that luxury. Then that way you start to, it's okay that you have that. Like, that's okay. It's just recognize that some people don't. That's the difference.
Get in here.
No.
It's more than that. We're talking about systems that were put in place. And you may not have been a part of that system. Let's talk about redlining and the GI Bill. Okay, so that system was put in place years and years ago, before some of you were born. So you're saying, but I didn't do that. But you are benefiting, and your father benefited from the GI Bill, where the same Black soldiers who fought in World War II in Korea did not benefit from that GI Bill. So there are policies and practices. So that's why I say it's not just a luxury. There are systems in place that continue, and what you're seeing is the reckoning and the consequences of those systems. So when we talk about privilege, it's not that you haven't worked hard. We know that. It's not that you haven't worked hard and, you know, I have working class friends who were working class. They're doing, I'm talking about white friends who are doing extraordinarily well. And we've had these conversations but they're open to hear, and they do their research.
Well, it's not different. The policies, structures, and systems you are talking about is what gives them the luxury. And she's saying luxury is a different way to.
Why I'm doing that, because you're going to need a break. And we are going to, you're starting to get into systems, and we're getting into systems. I see everybody. This will go on, to November, and it's a good thing. what I wanted to connect it to is being authentic and true to yourself. So I'm doing their work, and I'm starting to see Black women do their work, you know? And it's always going to be evolving. It's always going to be messy in the public space. You know, like if you're in a situation where something happens, you're not gonna say, oh, give me 30 minutes so I can prepare my, you know, my remarks. Or give me, you know, a couple days, because again, we're in that fight, flight, or freeze response. So we're trying to look at how we can do strategies and change these reactions. And you're doing a great job of that, you know. We know that we're not going to be able to establish social trust in 3 days, or to have someone watch this documentary and say, okay, now, you know, racism is solved, or this is way, but it is a different pathway, I think, in a more effective pathway. You know, we've been marching, we've been doing, you know, some of the same things through the legislations and, you know, throwing money at these things, you know, this issue rather, but I think this is where we need to start to do it. If we don't have context, if you aren't in my world and I'm not in your world, or we're just only thing that we know about each other is from the news or the media, and we're not building these relationships, we're never going to get far. Trying to help people get prepared to have trust is what this is about.
Right, right.
To start having these conversations.
We are beginning to really imprint and model and share. Trust is based on communication, on sharing of ideas, sharing hurts. It's the only way that we learn is going to be to speak up.
I also know that there are times when I speak up and I'm told, shut up. You know, I don't want to hear what you have to say, listen to me. And so I don't know how to find the balance. And yet I don't want to put the onus on Black women to find it for me. And so that's the negotiating, I think, that for white women becomes difficult.
I'll give an example of how I see white women and the white community sometimes being quiet. You know, when George Floyd passed, was murdered, everybody was up in arms and protesting, and let's get out in the streets, and we want to listen and engage. And that lasted about a month. And then the Globe did a wonderful piece on white people are tired of this now, and they're going home. But we're still left here. And the privilege of being able to walk away is so easy. We're still here, right? I still have to worry about teenage boys driving while Black, right? I can't ever get tired of it. It can be exhausting. I would love white women to get as mad as I get sometimes and say that.
There's a body of evidence that shows that racism is toxic for mental health. Even here in the UK, we see that Black people are much more likely to be diagnosed with serious mental illnesses such as schizophrenia and psychosis. A lot of these disparities can really be explained by the daily experiences that Black people face, interpersonal racism such as experiencing abuse on the street, or it can also be indirectly felt. For example, many of us here in the UK were vicariously impacted really by the racism in the US following the murder of George Floyd, and that's something that really impacted the mental health of Black communities across the world.
So ladies, we are going to teach you a song here in a moment, but before we do, we're going to start with the artist. Her name is Allie Halpert. She's a Jewish musician from Philadelphia, and she created an album called Loosen, which is about the collective and individual healing. And she bases her songs in Jewish tradition and also social justice. And so Loosen is the song we're going to teach you today. And she changed the words to reflect this group specifically from her original. So this is written for all of us.
Loosen, loosen, sisters. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Loosen, loosen, sisters. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. The weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, and go, and sisters. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. The weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go.
Roll on this. Yep, rolling.
Thank you for having me with you. Good morning. Okay. Grab a seat any place. Okay. All right. This is so exciting.
This street has been involved and has a connection with so many of the things in Black history as well as civil rights history. We have the Freedom Riders and ultimately, of course, the Montgomery bus boycott that were all on this street and primarily in this block.
When you said we were just ordinary people, you and everybody who was in this kitchen who ended up doing extraordinary things, is that reminder that we are all one thought, one opportunity, one idea away from being extraordinary.
You said, my parents did it because it was the right thing to do. And that was so pure for me and so powerful. They probably didn't sit and analyze all that could have happened. In their core, they knew this was the right thing to do and open their home. And if more of us would do the right thing, you're saying it was nothing, no big deal. Right. But it was a big deal. It really was. It was a big deal.
I can't name them right now, but when there's a shift taking place or when transformation is happening, you may not understand the risks, you may not know what's ahead of you, but what you feel, the energy that you feel is as natural as breathing and walking. You have to do it. And that propels you and moves you through that uncertainty. So it may feel like no big deal because it's as natural, this thing that I have to do, what I'm a part of, it's gotta take place and it's gotta happen.
Today and throughout this whole entire weekend, I can feel the tears beginning. I feel fed. Suddenly, I feel fed in this kitchen. I feel fed in the presence of people here. And there's a sense that I can't put language to, but I have a feeling that I know better how to start feeding other people.
My hope is that we find a way to find each other. We will never achieve the kind of solidarity we need to eliminate racism until we find ways to find each other.
Even after this conversation, we should be exchanging numbers and saying, let's connect. What's your takeaway for today? What's my takeaway? What's your takeaway? I think that we have these moments in time and we say, yes, big dreams, big aspirations, and then we walk away. So I'm committed to exchanging and connecting.
I'm a strong believer that women are the key to rewiring this planet. We are by nature significantly more collaborative, communicative, we're nurturing, we have high intuition. These are terms that are often used in a pejorative way in our society, almost a condescending way, but I think there are superpowers, and it's what this country and this world needs. And so I really do believe that if women can use those innate capabilities to truly understand each other and to truly unite together, then there's no question that we can change the world.
I think that role modeling can be so powerful because people can't be who they can't see. So if they're most comfortable, if their exposure has been with white women, and then you see a white woman role modeling advocacy and racial equity and working well with diverse populations, it resonates because they have something in common, and now they're seeing a different point of view from someone that they trust. So I think it's important on both sides.
I guess I'm just eternally optimistic about the inherent good in most people. And I see so much of the big changes coming in part because of the activism of more women. If we can just try to stumble in the right direction, we're going to find relationships that we couldn't even imagine that are there. And it will make us stronger, not just in our personal lives. It'll make our community stronger. And if enough of us were doing it, and this is the optimist in me speaking, it could really have an impact on our country.
I went to the deli and I ordered a sandwich. They asked for my name, and I said Karen. And then they messed up the order anyway. And no big deal. I might have said, hey, could you change this? This wasn't what I ordered, but I did not, because I did not want to be that Karen.
What is the one thing you admire about Black women?
I admire their...
The one thing I admire.
Girl.
I was happy that somebody else got in trouble. Not me. Sorry. Okay, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
What's the one thing you admire about Black women?
The one...
Okay. We together.
I'm ready. Okay.
Trust in Black and White builds a story around Black women and
white women
who are clueless,
who are angry,
who are racist. No. Okay.
I think that's going to be the opening of the documentary. I just feel like that's got some warmth in there.